Hello and welcome to the first video on my channel. On this channel I will be making videos about Gundam and Gunpla. I've started the hobby around 6 months ago and I have 11 Gundams right now. In this video I will take a look at all my Gundams, one for one, and tell you what I like and don't like about them. The first Gundam in my collection is the RX-78 Granddaddy Gundam. It's a 1:144 high grade and I paid around €70 for it. It's a small kit but pretty fun to build, and it's the Granddaddy Gundam, so a nice one to have in a collection. The only thing wrong with this Gundam for me is that the front skirting armor broke in half because I dropped it and it broke in half. So I had to glue it together so the front skirting armor doesn't move anymore, so I can't really pose it. But to be honest, I like this small Granddaddy Gundam in the standing pose like it is right now, with the gun and the shield. It looks pretty good, don't have a lot of cons with it, just that, yeah, the one that I broke myself. I panel lined this Gundam and didn't do anything else to this Gundam. The next Gundam in my collection after the RX-78 is the RCX-7601 Gun Cannon test type. I really like this mobile suit for a few reasons. First of all, it's a high grade with a stand. You don't see that much, so that's a big plus. Next thing is that it has its own look. You can see it's a prototype, especially if you look at the shoulders and the type of hands this Gundam has. It has 3 fingers and not the normal manipulator hands. Also, this Gundam are 2 Gundams in one box. This version you see here is the Gun Cannon Firepower test type. This is the version with the cannons and the head without the antenna as we know them on the normal Gundams. The only difference with the other type of Gundam in the box is that the helmet change or the head changes with the one with the antenna, looking similar to the RX-78, and the cannons come off. I paid around €24 for this Gundam and I think it's really worth it, seeing that you get 2 Gundams inside and a stand. This is the Wing Gundam Zero Ono. This is the first Gundam I ever built and this is what started the hobby for me 6 months ago. It's a pretty nice Gundam overall, but there are a few drawbacks. The first one is that this Gundam doesn't look that great without panel lining. Especially the red looks a bit cheap and without contrast. As you can see here on the shoulder, after panel lining, there is more contrast on the red and it looks way cooler. The only drawback I have now with this Gundam is the big red swords and the ones on the backpack, as you can see right here when I turn it around. Because of the big pieces of red, it looks pretty cheap and there's not that much you can do about it with panel lining or a simple mold. But as everybody has, their first Gundam has a special place in their heart, and I really like this Gundam overall. This is the Gundam Biel. This is the second Gundam I ever built. It's totally different looking to all the other Gundams in my collection, but it's still pretty cool. In my opinion, this Gundam looks more like a robot than a mobile suit, but it still looks pretty epic. This is the mobile suit that's most easily posed in pretty cool poses with its 2 swords and the cool looking fins on the back. The blue is a nice accent on the white and there's some nice colors going on in this Gundam. My negative with this Gundam is the stickers on it. The blue on the antenna are stickers and are pretty hard to apply well and they don't look great from up close. But overall, it's a pretty good looking Gundam, with cool swords, good looking poses, and a great build. One extra thing with this Gundam is the stand. This stand is not a stand you buy, but I printed this on my 3D printer to test if you can print a good stand. In my opinion, this works well, but a normal stand you buy in the store is a bit of better quality. But for your master grades, or I wouldn't recommend it, but for the high grades, it's a pretty good choice to print it if you have a 3D printer. This is the RX-79 EC8 Gundam, one of the most military type looking Gundams in my collection. It looks like a rough fighting robot the military can use. It's a pretty cool Gundam, and I like the pose it can handle, like this on his knee. It has a few great accessories like a few guns and the backpack. The colors are pretty nice, with the off-white and the dark blue, and you get some cool stickers with the kit, like the one on the shield and on the chest with the numbers on it. On the back we have a backpack that's supposed to be a parachute. This is a nice backpack you can take off, but the only gripe with this backpack is that the ribbons are connected to the shoulders with small stickers, so you can't really take it off and put it on as much as you like. You have two types of those stickers, so bear in mind that if you want to get this Gundam. The cool thing about this Gundam is that it's pretty simple looking, but still pretty cool. Also, it doesn't look like a standard Gundam with a straight up antenna on its head. Overall, I really like this Gundam and the pose it can do, and it's a great addition to my collection. To be honest, the next Gundam is my least favorite Gundam. It's the RX-0 Full Armor Unicorn Gundam, the red color version Destroy mode. I bought this Gundam because it looks pretty cool on the box, and it still does put together. With the big accessories on the back and the guns you get with it and all the shields, it's a pretty cool looking Gundam. But the biggest problem with this Gundam is it's impossible to pose. The joints are really weak and it falls apart when you touch it. So I don't recommend this Gundam because it's pretty weak. Like, I can pull it off with one hand, and that's not something good for a Gundam. It looks cool. After my least favorite Gundam of my collection, it's one of my favorite Gundams. This is the Neo-Zeon Psycho Frame prototype mobile suit. I think it looks really cool. The grey and the dark blue have a really nice contrast, and it stands out. Also, the stickers on this Gundam are pretty cool. The logo there, and the ones on the chest and on the wrists. On the back we see more detail. This backpack is pretty cool for a high grade in my opinion. Also, the hat is one of the cooler Gundam hats in my collection. It kinda looks like an old military helmet from the time of the Romans. This kit looks way better after panel lining, and there's way more contrast in the kit. Worst points on this Gundam, in my opinion, is that posability is a bit less than it can be. The articulation is good, but it's kinda bulky, and that's why it's harder to pose. But all in all, this is one of my favorite Gundams I have right now. This is my first real Saku. It was pretty fun to build, and it looks amazing with this big backpack. This is the MS-06R Saku 2 High Mobility Type Psycho Saku. I think this Gundam looks pretty cool, especially for the price. I paid around 35 euros for it, and it looks really good. especially the red and the orange, and all the thrusters it has on it. And then when you get to the backpack, you get a lot of extras, like the 3 guns, the ammo on the side, the rockets and the extra machine gun. The only point that could be better in my opinion is the weapon it has in his hand right now. It's pretty big and it's just one big grey blob, so that could be better. But overall, this is a really cool looking Gundam for the size and a nice Gundam to have in your collection. The only thing is, it's a piece that sits on your shelf. There's not a whole lot of posing you can do with this big backpack. It's back heavy and it pulls back a lot. There's not a lot of movement in the legs, so this is one of the only poses it can do with the full Gundam put together. But even with those setbacks, it's a really cool looking Gundam. We have looked at all my high grades in my collection, so now we're gonna take a look at my master grades. First up is the Strike Rogue Otori. This is the first master grade I've built, and I think it's still my favorite in my collection. I really like the colors, with the red, pink and light pink. Also, the stickers on this Gundam are pretty cool, with the Blossom type sticker on the skirting armor and the logo on the shoulder. The head of this Gundam is pretty aggressive looking, with really cool antennas. Also, the backpack on this Gundam is really nice. With the wings and the attachment of the sword and the rocket launcher on the back, it looks really aggressive. And this is what a master grade should look like in my opinion. Overall, it's a really good Gundam. It's really well built. The joints are really strong and can hold a pose really well. The downside I had with this Gundam is that the holding hand for the weapon was not that good and the weapon kept falling out. So I had to put the holding hand for the gun in place so that wouldn't happen anymore. But overall, this is a really good Gundam and a great first master grade to build. The next master grade is a big one. It's the Providence Gundam master grade. I bought this one this year at Comic-Con in Utrecht in the Netherlands. I really like this Gundam and the colors on it. This is a Gundam that benefits from panel lining because it's a lot of grey on grey. The panel lining makes a better contrast and shows more detail in the Gundam. As you can see, it has a really big gun and it looks pretty cool on this big Gundam. Also, the shield is pretty different and cool. It wraps around the hand and it looks like a cockpit of a plane. The colors on this Gundam could be better. I'm not the biggest fan of the yellow on the grey because it looks kind of toyish. But overall this Gundam looks pretty cool, and also the head is a really cool version of a Gundam's head. The articulation of this Gundam is pretty good for the bulkiness of this Gundam. Also, the backpack is pretty different to most Gundams. It's like a star with weapons on it. I think this backpack is pretty unique and pretty cool looking. There's a lot of ways you can pose this and a lot of versions you can make. This one ranks high on my list of my favorites in my Gundam collection, and it's pretty easy to see why. This is the 11th Gundam in my collection, so it's the last I will show you for now. It's the Strike Noir Master Grade, and I built this one a few months ago. This is a pretty cool looking Gundam and different to most Gundams I've built. The color separation is pretty good and I like the attention to detail on this kit. For example, the yellow parts you can see here on the shoulder are separate yellow plastic pieces added to the Gundam. Also, the poses of this Gundam are pretty cool. And the color separation, as I said, is pretty good with red, yellow and black. It's a pretty mean looking Gundam and it does this very well. The details are also on the back with this big sticker on his wing. The wings are also swords it can use in battle. The only drawback of this Gundam is that there's no stand included with this Gundam in the box, so you have to buy your own stand, so keep that in mind. These are all the Gundams in my collection. Thanks for watching the first video on my channel, and if you want to see a more in-depth review of all these Gundams and more Gundam related content, don't forget to subscribe on this channel. See you in the next video, New Times.